Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning. It is Thursday Morning Live, and I am super excited about this morning show. Joined by an old friend. So we'll get to that in a minute. But hey, it's Thursday morning. The week's almost over. Maybe it's just starting for you because you're going to work right through the weekend. But whatever your intention are you holding them high? Are you keeping up with your intentions? Are you staying focused on what's important and what you need to accomplish in your life, personally as well as professionally? Are you taking an attitude of accomplishment rather than defeat? And are you staying focused on moving the ball forward for yourself? So I always talk about that. I always talk about intentionality and how you are growing and what we can do maybe to bring some value to your world and bring some value to your network and help you grow. Hey, I'm glad that you're here this morning. If you're new to the show, thanks for being here. I think you are going to want to buckle up this morning for sure because you'll be in for a ride. And if you are new, please follow us on social media. Wherever you hang out, we hang out. We're always bringing great content. If you're on YouTube, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, follow us on our Multifamily Unplugged Facebook group. And we are always bringing great information, great guests, content for you just to help you learn a little bit more. So this morning, my guest is an old friend, Carl Moose. Moose and I go back probably 25 years, not to date ourselves at all, but when I used to do multifamily real estate investing seminars, he would come out to those events, and that's where we first met and got to know each other and kind of lost touch over the years and then got a renewed friendship again and have really just spent some time laughing together and having fun and just building into each other as well as helping each other's business. And that's kind of what we are going to bring today. So let me bring him in real quick. Moose, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Mike.
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Everything's good, man. Beautiful Thursday morning.
Yeah. Hey, look, I wore my good shirt for you today.
I thought that was your middle name.
Sarcastic?
No, never.
Never. That's right. So, man, listen, I read a post this morning on social media, and it was pretty cool because the woman said that there's nothing like summer in the city in Chicago. And, with the weather getting nice and when the sun is out or a nice summer evening to go down by the river walk or something, they're definitely summer in the city, right?
Oh, yeah. I was up early today and on Michigan Avenue. It was great. Just everybody hustling and bustling and the sun out. And then I walked from Michigan Avenue over to my place right by Trump Tower, right by the river. It's just, yeah, it's really great.
Yeah. What were you doing on Michigan Avenue? Nothing's open this time in the morning.
I was getting a cup of coffee. No, they have that big Starbucks over there. So I went over there. It's like I think it's the largest Starbucks in the world. It's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have been in there. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting place. But what time do they open?
They open around 6.
Okay, so we'll have to pull in there tomorrow morning, huh?
There you go.
Okay, good. Hey, yeah, because you and I are taking a little road trip this weekend, going to Cleveland, and you're going to see your parents, and so it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to spending some time and just maybe brainstorming a little bit. I just came back from a weekend of mastermind. I was up in the mountains in California outside LA with a group of people that, just really kind of vibrate at a different level. And, I needed it, right, to get that centering again, that peace. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you got to do stuff like that. It's awesome. Hanging out with those types of people, you hit it right on the head. It elevates your vibration, your energy level, and I'm sure you walk away from that, feeling empowered and just networking, surrounding yourself with those quality people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, I'm not going to treat you any different. The first question I ask my guests at the beginning of every show is, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Wow. And that's not the word. You know, I like to think of myself as a person of character. You know, and to me, character is doing the right thing when no one's looking. So you know, that's my intention. You know, so I guess, you know, if that's a word that you know, I strive to manifest and to be.
Okay. How do you walk in that direction?
Well, you know, it's a moment by moment thing. You know, you know, we're with ourselves more than we are anybody else on earth, and so a lot of times you're alone. You're not, nobody's watching. You know what I mean? I mean, nobody in the physical realm. You know, the universe. You know, the higher power is always watching.
Yeah.
You know, however, you know, we make thousands of decisions a day. You know, and we have a choice to make the right decision or the wrong decision, and we don't always make the right decision. You know, however, I learned a long time ago, you know, my definition of character is doing the right thing when no one's looking.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always easy, but it's simple. You know, it's a simple philosophy, a simple way of thinking, but it's not always easy.
So let me ask you this: do you think character is something you're born with, or do you develop it over time?
You know, I think it's something you develop. You know, just like your personality. You know, we all have the. I think when we're born, we all have the building blocks, right? And you know, it's interesting you say that because my grandmother used to say, "There's, you know, there's not bad people. All people are good. Just some good people do bad things." You know, and you know, you seriously, Mike. I mean, you and I've made our mistakes in life, you know, but you see a little kid walking down the street. You know, it's just a pure little ball of energy, and you know, they're good, you know, at that stage, right? They're nice, they're kind, usually they're helpful, they're happy, you know, and it's what we experience through our lives and who we surround ourselves with and who we're mentored by, you know, that develop that character, develop that personality. You know, my son, 16-year-old kid, right? He's a counselor at a camp, a day camp, and I'm so proud of him. You know, he's the archery instructor, right? That's his job.
Huh.
And you know, I was actually at his house. You know, I slept over last night, and we were both up at 6 a.m. And he came into the room. He said, "Dad, you want me to make you eggs?" And I'm like, whoever taught you how to make eggs?" He said, "I've been watching you." Right. And I was just so proud of him in that moment. He's sitting there making eggs just exactly the way I always make eggs, you know, and they turned out great. And I just sent him a text. I was like, Otto, I'm so proud of you. The way you're embracing this job. You know, he's not getting paid very much, but he's embracing it. You know what I mean? And you know, that's he's developed a good little character, you know, and anyway, so I think it's something that we develop over time, Mike. We have the building blocks when we're born into this world, but it's something that, and seriously, you know, I'm 61 years old. I'm still developing my character.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it is something that we develop over time. So I just want to comment, there's a bunch of people online this morning. I want to say hi to everybody that's out there. We'd love to know who you are. Drop your name and where you're from in the chat this morning. If you have a question for Carl or for me, drop those in the chat. Love to, engage the audience this morning in some conversation. Francisco, good to see you this morning. Glad that you're here. Whatever we can do to add value to you, your network, don't hesitate to reach out. So, Carl, for people that don't know you, right, and I forget this sometimes because I know you really well, but for people who don't know you, tell them, a little bit about your history and what you're doing today and how you got there.
Yeah, so I was born in the 60s into a middle-class family, Catholic family in Cleveland. I played hockey all my life. Went on to college, played a couple years in the minors. Got a degree in geology that I never used. It was a great experience. Got into banking, sales, and then into banking. Then started buying real estate, multifamily properties. We bought, I think, about 20 properties or so, which is kind of where our paths crossed, Mike, geez, over 20 years ago. I used to come to your seminars and your weekly things. And, I didn't really know you that well back then, but I always had a sense that you really knew what you were doing. And obviously I find out years later that, you did, and you do. Then got into a little bit of trouble, in the early 2000s. I invested in renewable energy company that failed, made some mistakes and had to pay the price for that. And then just recently started a solar company with a friend of mine who you also know, a guy named Joe, who knows you very well. And I've known for 20 years. And so that's what we're doing now. We're doing commercial and residential solar. And all along, as you know, I've been a student of Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. I've had the pleasure of working with guys like Bob Proctor, who worked directly for Napoleon Hill. So I was 1 degree away from Napoleon Hill. Still have a relationship with Don Green, who's the chairman of the foundation, who has known the Hill family all his life and worked directly for Napoleon Hill. So, that's the other thing I do, which I'm really passionate about, is I lead courses about Think and Grow Rich and those principles. And as you know, like you, Mike, I've written a book called Unstoppable You. It's a very short book that talks about the things that stop us in life, our fears, our doubts, confusion, indecision, and worry. And, I speak, not as often as I'd like to, but, I go and speak about that as well. So, that's me in a nutshell. I'm a pretty simple person. I'm married and divorced. I have an excellent relationship with my ex-wife. I have 3 wonderful teenage kids. And, I love life. I love waking up in the morning and just take that as a blessing and realize that, we are all miracles, and every moment that we're alive, it's a miracle. So.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big reasons you and I are friends, right? Is because you love life as much as you do. We laugh, we can hang out, and, we can be sarcastic with each other. We can laugh. We can have a good time. Hey, tell people how they can get a hold of your book, Carl.
Yeah. So,
and here's why, because I think that you say a lot of really good things. A lot of times people take positive motivational things and it's regurgitated, but I think that you bring some new light to it. So tell people how you get a hold of your book.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So the book is it's a very short read. It's not in bookstores. I basically wrote it as a giveaway. You could I'll send an electronic version for anybody that reaches out to me. If they, if you want to reach out to me, you can email me. I think you put the email right there, Shift Media Services. Just mention My Core Intentions, and I can send you a copy of that. It's a real short read. And again, it comes right out of my work with the foundation, Napoleon Hill Foundation. Talks about what stops us, fear, doubt, confusion, indecision, and worry. And it talks about the source of those things and how to get over that. And by the way, those are things we all experience. It's not unique to me or you, or, this is part of the human condition, and I can tell you, Mike, anywhere you're stopped in life, or any of your listeners, it's one of these 5 things at play, right? Fear, doubt, confusion, indecision, or worry. And the book talks about how to get beyond that and really become unstoppable.
Yeah. I think that, the unstoppable piece, that self-motivation, that I don't want to call it will, right? Because it's really not willpower, but it's this burning desire that you can develop within inside of you. And that's the thing that I love about you, is that you encourage people to do that. When you speak publicly, when you're on a live stage somewhere, your energy is contagious, right? What do you find when you're out speaking publicly, and what do you get from the audience? What are they looking for from you?
Yeah. And it's great because, you and I, Mike, we were both officers of Toastmaster, International, which was a great experience. I mean, it was really great. And, one of the key things about that experience was it's really taking the spotlight off of you, right? And, one of the things I talk about is one of the human fears is fear of judgment, fear of criticism. Well, one of the things I learned with working with you as an officer in Toastmaster was, how do you do that? Well, take the spotlight off you. It's not about you. It's about the audience, right? And, you said earlier about motivation and coming from within. It's interesting because I talked to Bob Proctor about that, when I was working with him. And he said, Carl, it's really not about motivation. It's about inspiration. He said to inspire people, right? Because motivation has that word, it's like somebody beating you up and saying, oh, you got to do this, as opposed to it coming from within, right? And that inspiration. So whenever I speak, I look at inspiring people and I tell them, listen, I appreciate you're here. I appreciate you're here, and something inspired you and motivated you to be here. So my job is just to give you one nugget, just one thing tonight that you can take away from, or during this presentation that you can take away from and use immediately. And that's where I come from, and I find people leaning forward, because they're then listening for that one thing, and it's going to be different for everybody. You know what I mean? Something. And you and I, you're a great speaker. When we go to events, right? You and I go to events, and we continuously look to be inspired, and we look to what other people have to say. And think about it. If you get one thing out of that, it was worth your time, right? And even you do these free things, every day, all day, and I really respect you for that, because I know how much energy it takes to put into that. And for the listeners out there, just take one thing away from the conversation, and then it becomes valuable.
Yeah. And you know what, listen, I have to give credit for that to my team, right? It's not me, it's Rain and the people behind the scenes that are helping with social media and helping get everything organized and keeping my calendar, straight to keep me straight, right? So I appreciate what you say, but it's not me, because if it was left to me, I'd fail. So, so it's the team that you have around you. And I think that is so important. It's like you and Joe being hooked up right now, right? And you guys being in the solar space and bringing solar to the marketplace. Why don't you talk about Greenlight a little bit and what you and Joe are doing?
Yeah. And you make a great point. Joe and I are the yin and yang, right? He's what he does well, I don't do so well, and what I do well, he's pretty good at. But I guess I'm just a little bit better. And he's done a great job building systems and a team. He's got a team of people that I've been able to plug into, and it makes a huge difference. And you're right, Mike. It's that support systems that are behind the scenes that nobody sees. Even though you're leading, you're the captain of the ship. You got to have that first mate. You got to have the people that are supporting you. And, that's where what Joe and I are doing is really unique. And I can say that after 2 years, because we haven't really found anybody else doing it. Joe brings 4 generations of contracting, right? And he's not your typical contractor. He's really a good businessman that happens to come from the contracting world. I'm a banking guy, real estate guy, and renewable energy guy, right? So when we come to a business, primarily in the business world, we don't even talk about solar. We talk to the building owner and say, listen, we're going to turn your liability, which is your roof, into an asset. And we're going to do that by leveraging all this federal, state, and utility incentives out there. Not only that, we're going to get rid of your electric bill. So that's where, and again, and the way we do that is through solar. We're not selling solar. We're really coming to business people and homeowners and saying, listen, you got a liability over your head. Let's turn that into an asset. And that's where people really, they lean forward and they say, tell me more about that. So it's bringing the roofing, the solar, and the money and incentives to the equation that nobody else is doing. And we're getting really great response.
Yeah. And I want to get Joe on one morning, right? And I want to talk about his business mentality, because I know that industry. I was in that industry for a lot of years. I burned out. That's how I wound up in real estate, because I couldn't, it's a tough industry. There's a lot of issues. Guys don't show up for work. They're undependable. Subcontractors, they take on too much work. They're spread too thin. But Joe has seemed to really be able to rein that in a lot and be successful as a result of it.
Yeah. And one of the key things is he's really good at putting systems together. He's really a creative guy, and he's not your typical contractor. And, Mike, you should really try to get him on before our July 29th event, which you're emceeing for us, which we're very excited about. And that's where we're going to put, it's a live event. We're going to put, 30, 40, 50 roofing contractors in a room and really educate them about a different way of thinking and a different way of approaching the business. And that's where Joe is he's really good at that.
Yeah. And Carl, I know that I agreed to speak or to MC your event on the 29th. All I ask is for a first class plane ticket and a hotel lodging.
To Rolling Meadows, no problem.
Okay. Why don't you tell people, hey, look, I have my shirt on for you.
Me, sarcastic, never.
Why don't you tell people about the upcoming event, what that's going to be about?
Yeah. So we were invited by a company, national company called Blue Sky. They've got a wonderful venue at their headquarters out in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. It's going to be a short educational event. We're going to start around 3 o'clock. I believe it is a Thursday. I'm sorry, it's the 27th, Mike, not the 29th. So Thursday, the 27th of July. We're going to do a little networking in the beginning. Then, Joe's going to do a little speaking. I'm going to do a little speaking talk. Give some real practical tips about how roofers can sell more roofs.
Yeah.
We've got a roofing contractor, or I'm sorry, roofing supply house. It's going to be there to sponsor an insurance company, a bank. You're going to be there to MC, which is going to be great. And then we're going to do a little cocktail networking, afterwards. So it's from 3 to 7, no cost, no charge. If anybody's interested in that, whether you're a roofer or just somebody that wants to learn about solar, email me at Shift Media Services. We're calling it the Greenlight Solar Roofing Revolution. That's what it's going to be called.
Nice.
So just mention that in the subject line. Greenlight Solar Roofing Revolution, and we'll get you some details on that. And again, it's going to be light. It's not going to be a rah-rah event. It's going to be some practical tools that roofers can use or contractors can use to generate more business based on what Joe and I are doing.
Nice. Well, here's one thing too that I would say is make sure you get us some social media, and I'll make sure, Rain and I'll make sure that we do some help with some social media push. We'll let our network know. I know I have a bunch of contractors in my network that it probably be beneficial for, or even just some of the realtors and people like that need to know more about that space and how to connect with people. So
yeah, well, that's one of the things on my list to talk about, Mike, when we have our 6-hour ride tomorrow. So I'm definitely going to pick your brain because
can I wear my shirt?
You can. Cleveland can be a pretty sarcastic place, so feel free. What's his name's from there? What's the guy? Jim Carrey? No, not Jim Carrey, but
Drew Carey.
Drew Carey.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you a question though. So I went online this morning. I thought, hey, maybe Carl and I go to a Cleveland Indians game. What happened to the Indians?
They're still there. They just call themselves something different. But
Guardians. Yeah. What happened? Yeah, I'm a baseball guy. I haven't been a Cleveland baseball guy. But
geez, Mike, if they have a game, we should go. It's a great.
Yeah,
city.
They're playing in Denver. You want to go to Denver though? We could go to Denver for the game.
That's a little longer drive.
We all got time, Carl.
Yeah,
Listen, we're in our 60s. We have time.
That's too bad. Actually, the Indians, I still call them the Indians. The Indians, they've got a great venue. As a matter of fact, here you go, Mike. Here's a little factoid. The same company that built the stadium in Cleveland built the Sox Stadium in Chicago. So it's kind of similar. It's a great place to watch a game. It's very great food, great views. It's a really great place. And listen, doesn't matter what you call the team. The Cleveland baseball fans are great fans. They're diehard fans. And the funny thing is, if you look at the word Guardians, the word Indians is actually in the word Guardians. So they kind of snuck that in. But
it was a twist, right? It was a twist.
Yeah.
So, hey, what's funny is there is some good baseball in Ohio, right? So I was walking into a Red Sox game one night. With my title guy and a lender, and this a few years ago. And I'm walking in, my phone's ringing, and it happened to be one of my staff members, and they're like, "Hey, listen, whatever you do, don't answer the phone tonight." And I'm like, "Well, I just answered it. What are you talking about?" And they went on to say that, well, we just had an issue. We owned a bunch of real estate in the Ohio Valley. So we owned a bunch of property in Cincinnati and Dayton, and so they proceeded to say that we had a fire. I said, "Oh wow, bummer." I said, "Anybody get hurt?" And they said, "Yes." I'm like, "Oh no." So there was an incident where long story short, somebody had shot someone, started a place on fire, burned down like 8 of our apartment buildings. Or apartment units in a building, and the newspapers were looking for me because I, was the primary owner and it was just, it's funny the things that happen. But I just say that, I kind of got off track talking about baseball and how, Ohio's got some good baseball. So.
Yeah, well, you'll never forget that game, right? When you get that. Listen, that happened to me. Yeah. I had a 28 unit building that caught on fire, and it was you want to talk about a cold glass of water in your face, But here's the thing, Mike, and this is, for people that are out there listening, and Mike, I say this about you, and I'll say it if you weren't sitting here, I'd say the same thing. You are probably top 5 guys that I know. And as a banker, I dealt with a lot of multifamily people. You have more knowledge between your ears than most people. And by the way, you've forgotten what a lot of people haven't even learned yet. And I don't say that because you're a friend of mine. I say that because I really believe that. And, at one point I had 750, what were you up to? 6,000, 5,000, 6,000 units?
Yeah, 4,000. Yeah.
Well, still that's pretty significant. So, and again, you don't know, nobody tells you what to do when you have a fire or a big disaster. When you go through that, like you have, and like I have a couple times now, you can't really, the only way to experience that is to have a mentor or a coach that can talk you through it or talk to you about it, or to go through it yourself. So, again, you're just a wealth of knowledge. And, if anybody's thinking about, getting into multifamily or doing syndications, you're looking at a guy right here that knows what the heck he's doing. He's written a book about it. He's, taught classes on it. Years ago, I used to go to his seminars, and I would go to his seminars on a regular basis because I knew that I was going to get something out of it. You know what I mean? And that was before I even knew you. I mean, I knew who you were, but I didn't really know you. And here we are years later, still working together.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Carl. And, listen, I believe this too. I believe that when you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of information that you can't get anymore unless you give it away. And that's what I love to do. I love to give it away. So I love to be on a stage, talk about, and I could, same thing with you. I can talk about a couple different things, right? The law or the success, the loss, the redemption, hope, inspiration, messages. I did an event in Milwaukee the other night, and this was really one of the coolest events I've ever done. Big shout out to Milwaukee RIA. But we did an author event, and I brought 100 books. They supplied 100 books, my exit plan book, and I signed books, met people as they came in. I did a 90-minute presentation on the 7 fundamentals of multifamily investing. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that same event online live on June 24th, Saturday morning at 9 a.m. So anybody who's looking for a little coaching or training, it's a free event. Drop me a LinkedIn message and we'll get you a link to get registered for that. But, listen, it's about giving away. It's about sharing. It's about helping other people. That's why I'm looking forward to coming out and emceeing your event for you and Joe, because, I think that, you've done things for me, and I can give back and do some things for you and your guys, and just bring some levity to it, right?
Yeah.
So have some fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And, it's true, Mike. I mean, you get to a certain age, you spend half your life filling up your vessel. You should spend the second half of your life giving it away, emptying it, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what people don't get. It's the law of giving. It's the law of economics, right? There's no getting without giving. The more you give, the more you get. And give it away. 7 steps to success. Listen, I wish, Mike, if I would have had you as my mentor, the first deal I did, I probably lost $100,000 or $150,000 between what I left on the table at the closing, between what I didn't estimate in terms of what I needed for credit. I mean, probably $100,000, $150,000 that if I would have had you in my corner, I probably would not have, lost that money. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back on it, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I really want to impress upon anybody that's listening. Don't be a fool. Take the information. Be there Saturday. I guarantee you that though each one of those tips is probably worth at least $10,000, at least, And by the way, that information, as you know, Mike, you can use that information time after time after time after time because it will save you money. It will.
And here's what else is interesting. And I want people to get this point because I think this is really important. I don't care how long you've been in the business, any business, doing something, right? I just went to an event in Dallas, Texas, a couple weeks ago, and I was in a room with new people and experienced people. I listened to people on stage. Carl, I walked out of there with 8 pages of notes, okay, ideas and thoughts. I don't care how long you're doing something. The repetition of hearing it over and over, or somebody else saying it in a different way, brings a new light to something. And now you get that nugget, that golden nugget, and you move your business forward just a little bit, right? This is about incremental movements. I talked to a good friend of mine last night, and he said, he goes, look, I played 2 games today. I played 2 baseball games. One is the game of singles. All I want to do is get a man on base, because if I have a man on base, I can advance him. And I play a game of home runs. So he says, the home run game is a lot riskier than the game of advancement, right? Where you're just popping singles every time. He goes, but the 2 of them come together. He goes, now what you're doing is you're creating that whirlwind, that life for yourself. And I thought, God, man, that is just so clear on how we should run business. And I know you're doing that in the solar business. I know you do that with your motivational business, right? And helping people and giving back. So, hey, Carl, listen, thanks for being here this morning. I just want to make a couple mentions on things. Tonight, Thursday night, June 15th, we have an event at 99 Asian Bistro, which is at Cortland and Elston. Big shout out to Jeff Ma and his family for opening up their restaurant for us. Come on out, some live networking. We have a great speaker, my good friend Steve Grammarosa. He's going to be out talking about title and how to thrive in this economic environment. So, come on out tonight. Starts at 6 o'clock. We'll be there for a couple hours. Some networking, get to know some people, exchange some business cards and ideas. Listen to Steve. It'll be a great event. Carl, your event coming up July 27th, talking about roofing and solar. The solar business is, Carl, it's funny about the solar business, right? A few years ago, it was like nobody wanted to talk to anybody about solar. And now it's like everybody's selling solar, right? But the advantages, the tax incentives, the clawback from that you can do with your electric company or power company, they're huge. So people need to reach out to you, talk about solar. And then your book, Carl, Unstoppable You. And I know that that's your passion, is to help people become more unstoppable. Have people reach out to you, drop you a message, grab so that you send them a copy of your book. So I want to thank you, brother, for being here this morning, man. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you, share space with you, and just, be sarcastic with you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, listen, I'm having dinner with Joe tonight, so we might just
who's Joe?
Guy named Joe. We might swing by the event. So later on today, text me the address of that. We might just swing by.
Yeah, it'd be great to see you. So I'd love to see Joe. And listen, Carl, that I love to feature Chicago area business owners, entrepreneurs. But not only that, on Thursday morning, if you know anybody, Joe or anybody else that would be a great guest, please, continue to keep Thursday morning live in your short sites and refer people over to me to be on as guests. So.
Yeah, I have a couple people that I think you might be interested in.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we could talk about that. I know we're going to spend some time together this weekend, and it'll be good. So. Hey, big shout out to Russ Armstrong and Amy for their big wedding party coming up this weekend in Cleveland. And, congratulations to them. And I hope they have a happy future. Russ is our friend, who is the Chicago window guy. Big little commercial for Russ, right? So if you're looking to have new windows put in your house, give the Chicago window guy a call, right? So, hey, Carl, thanks for being here today, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate your friendship, and I will look forward to